Welcome back. The sun will come up in Kyiv, Ukraine in just a couple of hours. It will be day 2 of the full war. In a way, what Russia has been able to accomplish in just 24 hours is stunning. The flip side of that is that they're not as far as a lot of people thought they were, especially myself. We all thought they would be a lot farther in this invasion. We come to the screen. This is the state of play after 24 hours. You can see all of these are Russian bombing attacks all throughout the country, concentrated on the Ukrainian military command and control, their airfields, their weapons depots, and the government itself. Obviously, right here around Kyiv, some other big bases out here, and then concentrated a lot in the east, where the Russians have the very most amount of firepower. We'll give you a sense of what the invasion looked like and how it's gone. From the sea, this is the Black Sea here that the Russians have turned in to their own effectively. They own this and have denied NATO a lot of access. Cruise missiles came in from the sea, softened up Odessa here. Next, from the air, the major bombing campaigns we talked about. Now for the land invasion, both from Belarus here and then south. If we turn on the touchscreen, we'll give you a sense here. 2 columns, one on either side of the river to encircle the capital of Kyiv. It's only about 60 or 70 miles from the border down to the capital. They have already gotten to Chernobyl, the old nuclear power plant. There was a big battle there. They're heading south towards Kyiv there. Kharkiv, this was the flank because the Ukrainians are dug in along a line here and along a line here with their most elite forces. The Russians, if we had another color, we would show you, the Russian separatists and the Russian forces in Donetsk in this area that has been in Russian control since 2014 were dug in here. We've yet to see the Russians try to break out this way. When that happens, it's going to be an incredible fight. There's been tens of thousands of people killed so far in the fighting over the 8 years, especially concentrated right around here. This was the big flank, the left hook, if you will, through Kharkiv. And we understand that the Russian flag is now flying over City Hall in Kharkiv. 3 avenues of invasion, the third coming up from Crimea. This is the area that Russia took in 2014, took back their old port from the Soviet Union. Why is everything focused over here in the east? Main thing for the Russians is to connect Crimea with a land bridge back here. That allows them to get down to their port. That allows them to control the entire eastern part of Ukraine where the ethnic Russians are. If we're going to see an insurgency that we've been talking about by the Ukrainian military, it's going to be all over here. So if the Russians are able to take the capital and this turns into an insurgency war, this is where it's going to be fought. This is much more Russian-friendly territory. Why does all of this matter? Take a look at what Vladimir Putin wanted to keep from happening. That is what NATO is. When NATO came in, and now NATO sits all the way here, compared to where NATO was before, which was over here. So all of these countries have joined NATO since the breakup of the Soviet Union and moved NATO so much closer to Russia. Ukraine is the key buffer zone that Vladimir Putin says he wants. This is the problem right now for NATO. There's U.S. troops right here in Poland. If you can see U.S., there are Russian airstrikes happening right here in Ukraine. We'll bring in General David Deptula, retired from the United States Air Force, to talk about this. General, when you've got Russian airstrikes within 50 miles of U.S. troops, 40 miles of U.S. troops, it feels like the threat of miscalculation is terribly high.
Well, Leland, thanks very much for having me on. There's always a chance of miscalculation in warfare. However, if there's any one thing that Putin is aware of is, and what he's avoided very specifically to date, is getting any NATO country involved. Because the fact of the matter is, and you've heard the president say it, you have seen if there's any one area where the European NATO nations are unified, is it's on the whole issue of supporting Article 5. So if Putin makes the error of initiating hostilities with a NATO member, he can expect the entire wrath of NATO to fall upon him. So he's going to work very, very hard to stay away from that kind of a possibility.
We hope. We also hoped he wasn't going to invade Ukraine at some level.
But those are two different, completely different situations, and I think it's important to recognize that difference.
Well, but I guess that'd be the question is we've said, and President Biden said over and over that if you invade Ukraine, there is going to be crippling sanctions. He thought that was going to be a deterrent. He even said today, it wasn't going to be a deterrent. We have Kamala Harris and his national security advisor and everybody around him saying it was going to be a deterrent. Why, if you're Vladimir Putin, why, if you haven't gotten crippling sanctions to the United States, which didn't come today, why do you believe that America didn't follow through on crippling sanctions, but is going to follow through on Article 5?
It's actually an interesting proposition. And now you're getting into an area which I think is important to discuss, but which many commentators haven't addressed. Folks are very interested in the tactical level and operational level issues. But let me offer to you that from a strategic perspective, what's at play here is that the capacity of the United States to deter conflict has significantly eroded over the past 30 years. And that's part of why Putin's taking the actions that he has. He's sensed weakness on the part of the United States, and he's taking advantage of that weakness. Sanctions didn't deter Putin, and they won't change his calculus. Unity amongst European nations with relatively weak defenses didn't deter Putin. It's only U.S. military strength that would have deterred his aggression, but we don't have that capacity today.
Yeah, I know.
So all this talk about sanctions, diplomacy has to be backed up by military might, or it's going to fail. So if I may, this needs to be a wake-up call. The Russian action should be a wake-up call that we have to rebuild our U.S. military. But unfortunately, that's doubtful because the administration's not planning to program the funds necessary for such a defense strategy. And Congress, as I think you discussed earlier, cares so little about defense that it hasn't even appropriated the money for the defense budget for this year yet.
No, you can imagine all of that plays into Vladimir Putin's hand. General, unfortunately, we got to run because when we come back, we need to talk about the other side of warfare, which is the cyber war. Excellent point in terms of rebuilding the military that used to be second to none, and now the Russians have really caught up. We'll be right back. Thank you, sir. Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.